I had just received about a 20-pound box from a American Flyer Santa Claus, and in the box were several chassis and tenders and beautiful gifts. Beautiful gifts for the Frankentrain Laboratories, I'll tell you. Okay. One of the gifts was this chassis, which is a squared off piece here. So I'm thinking that could be, not sure if it's a 290, but it could be a 310. Okay. 310 with modern smoke and armature and brushes, but a 4-pin connector out the back. Now, I also had this Reading lines, which we know is Atlantic, but it also had the conventional reverse with the 4-pin connector. So I thought, well, 4-pin connectors work the same, so let's see if we can get these things to operate. I do get the, if you can hear it, the reverse unit clicks and clacks, although it's crusty. I don't know if current will flow, but it does click and clack. The motor wasn't doing anything, no reaction to the motor, and I was getting 10 volts. I tested the AC. So I took the fields out, or the brush holder out, and I couldn't get the brushes out, and I had to take the brush holder out and poke them out, and to find that they were the slotted brushes. They were the wrong brushes. It only had one spring. So I've got 2 new brushes of the right style and 2 new springs. Okay. And then I got the armature apart, and it was rotating nicely and all that. And then I looked at it and I go, well, you know, and that's after cleaning it with a old t-shirt. To give it a fighting chance, I really should clean that up as well. So I'm going to do that and put this back together and see what we get. Now, the objective for me is to take this combination, maybe not this tender, but that tender type. I have another one there, like a Hudson. You know, this could have been a Hudson, right? Some sort of a bell-looking thing. I'm not going to worry about that. Has a reverse unit, but the wiring on the reverse unit was all chewed up by rats or something. So I couldn't get that going fast enough, but I'm going here. Okay. I'll get back. Let's see if we can get it to run. And if we can, what I'd like to do is take segments of the video and show you how to replace these components with the next gen S stuff that we have, and see what we think of that, and how that might work. Who knows? Okay, so I'm going to pause this and come back. I just cleaned this armature up and I was thoroughly surprised. Look at that. I got a hunch this is not as used as it might appear, is my feeling, that this thing has just been sitting, and yeah, the brushes are shot and they got the wrong ones in, but I'm betting you that was a tune-up that failed, and at some point it was just shelved, because I've never had an armature clean up that quickly, that fast. The process I use, I have some 320 grit. I poke a hole in it and I hold it over the surface like that, and with my two fingers I push on it, and then my other hand I rotate it, and I'm just sort of wiping that surface. I'm like cleaning it. I'm using this very fine grit paper, and it just, I mean, 1, 2, 3, and I looked at it, I go, wow. So I'm going to pause again and reassemble this, and let's see if we have any rotation. All right, I have the motor back together, and I did the clickety-clack, and I don't get any conductivity, is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the fingers are probably shot or gummed up or something. These fingers look a little better, but I'm not sure these wires, and I don't know if it's worth it. I really don't know if it's worth it. I'm going to try to do another trick where I connect two pieces together and run DC and see if it'll run on DC. I won't be able to change directions, but I'll at least see if the motor runs, okay? So let's see if that works. Okay, so in bypassing the reverse unit, I connect one brush and one field to one side of the AC and the other brush, the other field, the other side of the AC. And all I'm going to do now is test it for motor rotation. That's all. I'm not going to have direction. I will have speed control, but I'm just going to see, is this thing going to run? Yes! Yes! And it smokes! Oh my God! Can you believe it? It's a little noisy, it's kind of laboring, but I didn't lube it. I just changed the brushes and the springs. And I'm running AC and it's smoking. I wonder if I can tell what the voltage is on that. Now, it seems to run better the longer I let it run, but I don't want it to run full speed. Ooh, the brushes are screaming hot. Not the brushes, the fields. The brushes are warm, but the fields right here are screaming hot. I should probably test those for resistance. That could be another point of failure. But holy moly, that wheel's a little cockeyed. It's running pretty square though, isn't it? Oh my goodness, look at this. That's fantastic, and we even had a little smoke. Smoke bottle, but I need to, here's my small one. I'm going to put a little more smoke in there and make sure it's not dried out. Oh my goodness! Oh my gosh, look at this! Holy moly! I just put smoke in it. Oh, I got smoke alarms everywhere. This thing's gonna go off. I don't have an on-off switch either. Oh my God, that I can't believe it. Oh, geez. What have we got here? Well, I have to try. I'm just going to have to pause this and come back and tell you what the voltage is at the heater of the smoke. Okay. I have to turn this off. It's just... Oh my God. Okay. At low speed, I'm getting 8 volts. At high speed, I'm getting 13 volts. We run our smart smoke system on 4.5 and 6 volts, and that's an 8 ohm heater. This is as you may recall, a 11 or 14 ohm heater, so it requires a little more energy. But oh my God, you know, if you were a 12 or 13-year-old kid and someone gave you this and you were able to do what I just did, you would just be wetting your pants. You would be so excited. You'd be calling your grandfather. Oh my God, that is incredible. I am totally shocked. I'm gonna have to put an on-off switch on this thing because that is just crazy. Now I feel awful thinking that I might want to take that apart. I don't think I will. I don't think I'm gonna take this smoke unit apart. It's original. It's a classic original flyer, and I'm not going to touch it. It's too good. You can't do that. Now these fields are hot. I would have no trouble replacing those with DC fields, and turning this into a DC motor, getting rid of the reverse and putting on a digital reverse unit, right? And the power thing, I would have no problem doing that and just leave the smoke, let it smoke. I can tie the smoke to a volt regulator so that it won't it'll just be 8 volts up and down, and it'll be fine. Holy cow. I should probably, well, clean and lube the axles, clean and lube the armature bushings. It's got the little fur ball in there for the oiler. It has new brushes and springs. But the reverse unit, as usual, yeah, I'll tell you, you can take it apart, you can put new fingers on it, but in my experience, boy, they are just deadly. Those reverse units are just deadly. I don't know. You want to talk to me about it? You want to talk to me about it? Or maybe what I could do is take this unit. You know why? This almost looks like a Hudson chassis. I can't believe it's got a original knuckle coupler. So this could have been a Hudson combination with a horn. I don't do horns, so I'm going to take that off. I might take this off, and I might just use this piece and put on the pieces that way. Boy, is that a great engine. My God. That smoke is just flooring me. All right, well, I'll tell you what. The American Flyer Ferry actually gave me 2 chassis with smoke. So let's maybe get the second chassis and see if we are as lucky as we were with this one. I really would like to get a chassis that doesn't smoke, that won't smoke, that the smoke is burned up or something. I hate tearing these things apart when they work. I mean, okay, these are overheating and these don't work, so I can do that without a heartbeat. I mean, without skipping, without a clean conscience, let me say. But I hate taking these things apart. I've had enough of them to know if they do that, that's awesome. All right, well, I'm going to come back. I'll get the other chassis. Let's try it out. Okay, I got the second chassis here, and what you see is it had the plastic wiring, more of the 55, 56, but it still has the square piece, so I'm still thinking this could be a K5 or a Hudson, but I don't have a tender with that wiring, at least not in this batch, so that all the tenders are older. They're all 10 tenders. But in any case, I've got jumped one field to one brush, so it'll go in one direction, and I clipped this heater wire goes to this brush, so I cooked that heater wire to that brush, and now we'll see what we have. Oh my, the headlight's even on, and here comes the smoke again. Now I did put some smoke down there just in case, so we have a headlight and smoke, and this wheel is way caca. You can see it wobble, 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 wobble. And it's making this grinding noise. I don't know. Amazing. I did not touch the brushes or the springs. I don't know what shape they're in. Did not touch them. Didn't lube them, nothing. Well, that's pretty remarkable, isn't it? Out of these 2 from Santa Claus, they both, you know what? I'm thinking maybe those fields just ran hot and that was the way they went. But I do have a comparison. I do have another system here, one-handed. Let's see if I can get it. Nope, I didn't. I left behind one of my booster magnets. Oh, this has the thin magnet set. That's not a big deal, I don't think. There we go. Now, here in comparison, right, you can see this is the lid that we put on when these smoke lids go and you have to do the repair. I usually just replace them with this lid, which has a temperature controller and some adjustment and a heat sink and whatnot, and the screw thing fits in. And so it's a piston metal frame. Everything's the same. Heater sticks down into the angel hair that's left. And then I also replace these things. These things run hot. Now, one thing to know, if something is running hot, that means it's drawing amperage. Now, I didn't test this on the DC circuit. Supposedly I could, but I didn't. That might be an interesting thing. Anyway, now this guy, he needs, I can't really tell. It looks like he needs at least springs, and he needs connectors. So I'm going to be a minute or two to figure that out, and we'll bring this guy up and make a comparison to the operation, and see if we can determine anything of use in watching that. And let me see what I can do with this. This is one of my old engines laying around that I've started to modify, so let's see where it's at. Okay, I found some brush tabs and put them on. I just hooked it up to my DC power supply, and let's see what happens when I start to turn it up. Yep, we got it at 4 volts at 0.8 amps. We have running. There won't be any smoke because I don't have the heater plugged in a power, although I could. It only needs about 8 volts, so we could do that if we got excited about it. I could show you how that works. But notice the chassis design that has the opening for the tab thing, and then this piece that step down, and then the piston, the room for the smoke to attach. So these chassis are identical. All 3 chassis are identical. There's nothing goofy or odd about the design or the age, other than this has the older wire, which I would say is the early 50s. This is the mid to late 50s, and then this is the next generation. This is all, this is a DC field. The heat that you get here draws a lot of current, so that is one piece right away. There's no heat. I mean, this is stone cold, and it's running smoothly, and it'll run fast too. Now, I wonder if that will run on DC if I hook them both up. I'll bet it does. I'll bet it'll run in a direction. I'll bet. I'm going to try. I'm going to put this on pause, try it with DC, and see if I can. That way I can measure the amp draw and make that comparison. Okay. I was right. It will work. But it's a little frightening. These get hot, and I said when they get hot, they draw amps. I'm not hooking up the smoke because I know that is a clear amp draw. Don't need that, but okay, we're turning. Right? We're turning. I just barely turned it on. We're turning at 4.25 volts. But I dare you to look at the amps. On this motor, at 4 volts, we were pulling 0.8 amps. This is taking 3.7 without the smoke. That's too low. It won't even run the light bulb at 4 volts. I'd have to go faster. It's not at DC. It can't at 4.5 volts. It doesn't like DC through that field, I guess. Yeah, it's warming up. 4.5. 4 amps. Okay. And at 3.5 volts, you're getting 2.8 amps. I mean, that's tough. No wonder. That's tough. That's hot. I don't have a temperature probe handy, but it's warming up. Now, that could be cleaned, right? It may run better. I don't know. Drag in the line. But that's pretty nutty. I could swap. There you go. I could swap the motors on this chassis and just see what a DC motor on this chassis would do. Just that amount. Just do that right now. Take that motor off and put it on here. What do you think of that? All right, let's do it. We have time. Hold on. Well, that's exciting. I've taken the DC fields, the whole motor. There's that whole motor, okay? And I just transplanted it over here, except he had a ball bearing that I had to leave off, but I do have the adaptive shims so that the armature is, is stable and it has enough slack in it that it's going to run. So let's see how it operates here. We have motion, 3.8 at 1 amp. That armature is like hopping around like Hop-Along Cassidy. But we have motion at 3. And we were 0.8 on that engine. We're 0.9 on this. So that would say this chassis frictional stuff is worth 1/10 of an amp, I guess you could say. Yeah, it won't run much lower than that. It takes about 9. Well, what's it take at like 6? It takes 1.2 at 9. We never got this fast on this motor with DC. I don't know how fast we were going with the AC, but I don't think it was running this smooth on AC. 10 volts. 14, 15, 16, 17 volts. 17 volts, 1.6, 1.7 amps. That's 1.7 plus 1.7 is 3.5. So this is half the amps at twice the voltage. Nobody's hot. Nobody's hot. I mean, the fields don't get hot. They're magnets. They're magnetic. They're not a wire copper coil wound around metal, steel to produce magnetism. You're taking electricity and turning it into magnetism. All that is a loss of energy, and that loss goes into heat. That heat is saved now, at least 50%. You're going 17. This thing would fly off the track. This thing would fly off the track. Well, wow. Wow. That's pretty cool. I wonder if I could run that brush holder on this magnet. I know I can. And that armature, just to make sure we're running, everything's the same except the fields. Run the DC fields only. Everything's the same. We'll see if it runs the same. If it runs nicely. Okay, let's try it. All right. I put the old brush holder back. I just left this field set off, okay? Just left it off. I left the DC on. And so that's the original brush holder, new brushes and springs, the original armature, original chassis, and everything else. The only change was the fields now are a plastic with permanent magnets. You know, I think that's even my old design chassis. That's okay. All right. So turning at 3.4 and at 0.9 exactly the same. Okay. And does it have power? Well, it feels like it has power. At 17 volts, it's taking 1.2 amps. Now, it was 3.8 amps before. That's 1/3. 1/3 the amp draw. And it's obviously going faster. I mean, these wheels are cockeyed. It hasn't been lubed. It hasn't been anything, okay? All we did here so far was change the fields. Now, it'd be nice to have the smoke going again, wouldn't it? With these fields and get that smoke going again. Well, I brought over some stuff. And we can test that smoke if you want. I'll have to do a little work, but it's not a problem. Do I have time? It's 10 after, so I have 20 minutes. Oh yeah, I think I could put together a little tester for the smoke to see if it will do it. Yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure I can. All right, I'm going to do that right now. You just sit tight. So, we cut the amp draw down to 33% of what we were using. That saves a lot of energy overall. Now we want to get the smoke back and also see what that does. Okay, I get it. Let's try it. Okay, I did not put in a buck boost, I just put in a boost board. So it's not going to create voltage at low speed, although I do have them around, I just didn't have one handy. So what this will do is simply limit the voltage and it will allow it to work its way up. But at low speed, it won't have the voltage that this fellow probably needs. Well, let's see what happens. Okay. Again, we're operating at look at that, 0.8. The more you run it, right? Wow, I'm impressed. We're going to have to let it warm up, get it going. There's the smoke. So it's smoking pretty good at 14 volts. And it's only pulling 1.2 amps. We're still 3.8. We're still at 1/3 the amp draw, 1/3 the energy Oh my God, look at the smoke. Okay, let's cut it down. Slow it down. 9 volts. That's you probably pulling a pretty fair load right now. At 9 volts. So we have the motor running and the response is pretty good. Pretty good. Throttle response and all that. And it's smoking not as much, but I can make it smoke more, but I don't really want to, frankly. So, you know, at higher speed, it'll smoke more. So we've got a smoke system, and we have a 1/3 draw field set. And we're running off a DC. Oh, that's right, we're not running off. Okay, so now I got to turn this into a DC because we have AC on the track, right? We don't have, right, so I've got to do something for that. Okay, I have 5 minutes. I don't know if I can do it, but I'll show you what I can do, and I'll be right back. Okay, that took me 2 minutes. Smoking and running off the transformer through a volt regulator that happens to have an LED output, through a rectifier that is sitting on the track, pulling track power. Track is getting its power through a 4B transformer, which is 100 watts. I can't tell you the amp draw, but I think it's safe to say it's about 1.2 amps. So, if you had this engine and you change the fields out and you get the rectifier, and if you get our digital reverse board, this would allow you to change directions just like you did before with the electromechanical fingers stuff. And I happen to have what that would look like right here. So these two boards plus these two boards, these are what they call the buck boost boards. They mount here. They fit in the tender. They would. I have one, but at any rate. So you get these boards, 1, 2, 3 boards, your smoke, those fields, and you've got digital reverse, 1/3 the amp draw, and your Flyer smoke system, classic original Flyer smoke. Now, I unscrewed the light bulb because it takes a lot of power. What I would do there is replace that light bulb with an LED, which gives you a nice bright white light at very low amp draw. And you could wire it right into the smoke. I got 2 minutes. Let's see if I can do that. Okay. I have to go. Time's up. But transformer is running the track. The track is getting power up through the rectifier. It's coming through a volt regulator to the motor. The motor's running. It's smoking. And we have a headlight. That would shine out the headlight lens of your engine. The funny thing is, this is in such a way that if I change directions, the light goes out, so it only would light on in going forward. That's the way it is. I can't explain it. But anyway, we can change it or keep it, whatever. But Here you go. DC fields, AC to DC regulator, DC digital reverse, volt regulator for smoke, and a headlight. You don't lose a thing, and you're using 1/3 the amps. You got a ton more pulling power. And look at the smoke. Okay, okay. What do you think? Who needs it? Tell you what, we got it. If that's interesting, let me know. If you have an engine in a box that's not running, hey. Get your hands dirty and make something happen. I'll post this. I'll put a link down where you can see the stuff at a catalog of sorts and see what you think. I am excited. I didn't plan this. The box came today. I had no idea what was in it. I opened it and I just was thrilled. And then it hit me. I've got an hour and a half after doing things with my wife. She has a broken foot. I have to help her a lot. So I didn't have a lot of time, but I just threw this together. What you saw is what you saw. I didn't plan it. It just happened. It just unfolded in front of you. Amazing. All right. Got to run. Think it over. Check it out. In the Army, we had a break when we were running the 5 miles to the rifle range. And we'd stop, get a drink of water, and they would say, smoke them if you got them. Boys, we're smoking. Holy moly, are we smoking? Oh my God. I better go. Fire department's going to come here and arrest me. Later. Have a good one. Check it out.